So there's the decal all nicely conformed to our instrument display panel there and nicely dried. Hopefully, as you can see, even though it is a decal, the combination of all those raised and recessed dials going with the decal there really does actually bring that along rather nicely. So now that's ready. What we're going to do, we're going to do a bit of dry brushing. We're going to be using two types of paint for the dry brushing and slightly different techniques, because what we've got here, we've got a black cockpit and a nice bit of dry brushing. Really does help for these black cockpits. So I'm going to be using Lead Belcher, right, and this is a Citadel base colour. Give it a good shake, and then what we're going to do is do a nice bit of standard dry brushing. We've got what is like a big our cannons that go inside our gun bay, which is going to be just inside here like so. These, using a gunbolt metal, is rather, well, it's lead belch now, it used to be gunbolt metal. Using this gunbolt metal type colour is really a nice colour because it's a nice silver to give it that sort of bit of a scratching, nice effect to it, but it's still quite a dark silver, which helps that along. And all we're doing on a kitchen paper towel, we're just getting most of the paint off, right? So we put our paint on and we get most of it off until it's basically like a dry brush and you're hardly getting any paint coming off. So then when we do sort of just lightly brush this on, what's going to happen, right, is we're just sort of going to end up just touching the raised areas, right, and not really actually paint, like get good coverage, but we're just sort of giving it that little bit of a tinge on all the raised areas of a bit of a gunbolt metal, which gives it a nice sort of gunny look to it and sort of give it like a bit of a scratchy type look to it. So I'll do the rest of that off camera, and that's basic sort of dry brushing there. Now with the cockpit, we can build up light scratches and scuffs with these with this dry brushing. So we've got some Necron compound here. Now this is a special paint that is specifically designed to be used for dry brushing only. So it's basically, it's really sort of thick in there, mega thick, and the whole idea is because the paint's already rather dry, it doesn't take much to sort of just quickly you know, whack your dry brush it onto a kitchen paper towel and you should be ready to go. So for example, we've got our cockpit here. All I've got is a little bit of painted detail, nothing special, and what I want to do is I want to lightly brush this on. I don't want to be doing any sort of heavy sort of chipping or anything like that. I literally want to be brushing this on so lightly. I've got very hardly anything on my brush, right, and the whole idea is you want to be sort of doing lots and lots of passes in one particular area, right? So hopefully, as you can see, I've really sort of brushed on that particular area quite a bit, but we've got this really sort of you sort of see this slightly faint, very sort of feathered bit of dry brushing on there. If we came in there with a lot on our paintbrush and done one or two passes and it was kind of thick, it would sort of leave you know, kind of bigger streaks and brush strokes and all this kind of stuff. But if we just ever so lightly just dip it into this Necron compound and then get most of it off on the kitchen paper towel, and then, you know, you brush it on for a little bit and it's like, oh, that hasn't done anything. But if you keep on at it, you know, lots and lots of brushing, right, really sort of go for it, you do end up with this nice light feathered bit of dry brushing on there, which can be a little bit hard to see, but it just slightly brings out that detail rather nicely. And then after we've done this bit, so there's dry brushing finished, and it just leaves those light little silver scuffs just to sort of bring out that black really nice and all the detail. Next I want to do is some normal chipping, but for this chipping, what you can actually use, you can come along and still use our Necron compound. So just getting off a nice little bit, as always, from a bit of sponge, which you get with all your sort of bits of photo etch and resin and all those kind of things. Right, we're just gonna, you know, nicely shape this by picking off a few bits just to make it as random as possible. I'm just going to use some tweezers for this. Right, and what we're going to do is just dip it into our Necron compound, which remember is nice and dry. Right, so you might have to dab into it a little bit harder than normal. Right, but it just makes it a little bit easier to get it to that sort of dry consistency that you want. And then what we're going to do, actually we need a bit more on there than that. Right, and then we're just going to sort of dab down at sort of like the bottom area, right, because this is where probably the scuffs are going to be sort of more in your face, is sort of where, you know, boots and legs are sort of kicking the bottoms a bit, maybe just at the top here, getting in and out sort of thing. And we just nicely get that nicely scuffed up. Two different styles of dry brushing and chipping gets that going rather nicely. You've also got the Footwell here. Right, we've got that bit of scuffing already from the dry brushing, but we can come in and with this one, we could potentially sort of really sort of go to town with this one, because, you know, again, you got your feet and everything, you got all the pedals here are probably getting really sort of chipped and scuffed and everything, so we can really sort of like chip that up and get that rather nicely chipped away. And then you can, if we just get out, what is it? Some Ruined Fang steel and a nice pointy paintbrush, right? Because the Footwell is one of these areas that are going to get rather sort of scuffed up, we can really sort of whack some bigger chips in here. Right, maybe bring you in a little bit closer. Right, we can sort of really sort of get some chips going on in here. Hopefully, as you can see just there, really sort of almost bring it to look like it's gone down to the bare metal. Right, because your feet are constantly there rubbing away all that black paint. Right, and then that should look quite cool in there. So get that all sort of nicely done, and then we'll move on to some ways of sort of doing like a wash but a filter at the same time. I'll show you after this anyway. So it's now moving along with a lot of nice chipping and all that kind of stuff. Now when it comes to black, you want to pick the right filter or wash or whatever it is you're going to use to sort of bring out the detail. Now when it comes to black, I like something that's a little bit of a dirty sort of grey, and Ammo by Mig Jimenez does this really nice grey for yellow sand, which is, you know, a dirty sort of grey. It's sort of like a light sort of dirty grey, but there's a little bit of yellow in there. It's a nice colour to use. It really sort of brings out the detail a lot. Now this is a filter. Now when it comes to like filters and washes, panel line washes by AK or Ammo, what you got to remember is it is basically different thicknesses and thinnnesses of an enamel paint, right? So this filter here is just like a really sort of thinned down enamel. I could get a wash off the top of the shelf here and it will basically be a really thinned down enamel paint. Filters are generally really thin, but we can still use them in a filter fashion, in a panel line pin wash type fashion, or even in a wash type fashion. It just depends how you apply it, and in this case you can still use it as a wash, which is what we're going to use here, but I'm not going to use it as a pin wash where we come along and where we've got all our recessed areas and raised areas, we sort of do a pin wash on it. But literally what I like with this is we can just brush it completely and utterly all over and not really have to worry too much about it, because it is so thinned down. It's not really going to leave any sort of nasty sort of marks pooling up somewhere or something like that, you know, but it's got enough thickness to it to actually get into our recess sort of areas and into our raised areas, and we sort of put it on moderately heavy so that it does build up in those sort of recessed areas and raised areas. And what it's going to do is going to bring out all that detail, and when it sort of dries as well, it'll leave that sort of light dusty effect generally all over, just like the one that I finished here on the opposite side. Hopefully, as you can see there, it is sort of giving a general all-round dusty look. You got all that chipping and dry brushing, and you know, it's bringing out the detail by getting into those recessed areas and everything. So basically I'm going to do that all over. It's nice, it's quick, it's easy, and we can also do the same, right, because we do also have this where the gum bay is going to go. We've got a natural metal finish here. Again, you know, I want to sort of bring out that detail. You don't have to use a wash to do that. In this case, I'm going to be using a panel line wash, which is basically where you do the pin wash on recessed panel lines on aircraft and stuff. It doesn't matter, you can still use it for other applications, which I'm now going to, after giving it a good shake, getting everything that's sedimented off the bottom, and I'm going to apply it in exactly the same way. I'm just going to brush this all on, and this, by the way, this color is blue black. Black's a good color to bring out sort of natural metal finishes and all the detailed areas, but blue is also good as well to give you sort of that bluey sort of metally sort of tinge to it, so it's sort of like it gets both the jobs done. Right, and if you've got any little spots or areas, you can just clean up your paintbrush by kitchen paper towel and just letting it suck up most of the moisture, so your brush is sort of damp, and then you can sort of, if you want to, brush up all these sort of nasty little blobs if you want to. Right, and we just sort of play around until we've got all our bits up that we don't want. Right, but as you can see, it goes into all the recesses, all the detailed area, and brings them out. Let's maybe get the bit more of that up. Right, and also remember, we've got our MG here. We can apply the grey for yellow wash onto our MG as well, and that should all look pretty good inside there. So there is our cockpit there. I've nicely glued it all together, just go together rather well. Hopefully, as you can see, it's looking rather nicely weathered, and when it comes to black cockpits, that's basically what you want to be doing. Silver looks really good, dry brushed on and everything, really brings that detail, and then sort of like that wash filter we use to sort of bring out all the recessed areas and stuff. Really good for making it look nice and grubby. Last little touch we can do here, which I don't know if I'm going to be able to show you very well on camera, but a new product by AK Interactive, and that is this intermediate Guzzi agent shine enhancer. Basically what this product's for is for glossing up your models, but actually you can also use it for other applications as well, which I'm going to show you now. Right, now this is all brand new from AK. I'm just getting a paintbrush and we're just going to dip into this, right, and the whole idea is we're going to make our dials look all nice and shiny. If I can just get you on camera, because we're really sort of getting in there with some detail. Right, and what we're basically going to do, where we've got a dial, we can just touch these dials. I probably should have done this outside, but hey ho, carry on. And the whole idea is it's got that sort of nice capillary action to it that it will sort of, you don't necessarily have to paint those dials perfectly circle, it will flow in and around those raised and recessed areas to sort of give us that nice painted on look into those dials in there to make it look like glass, and that's the whole idea. Once that's dried, if there is any sort of murky bits, it does dry to a crystal clear finish, so that is going to look stunning when it's done. So there's all our cockpit now nicely finished and nicely glued into place, as well as our little gun bay just here as well, which you don't see all of that gun bay. You do only actually see, if I was getting in position, just that little bit just there as well, which actually adds a little bit of a note as well. I did miss it, but actually just inside there you can see we need to spray this bit a little bit black, because it does just show through only slightly, so just spray that little bit black as well. So that's the cockpit basically all done there. Now I want to move along with some rivet making, some surface detail and everything, because the thing problem is with Airfix, they're good kits and everything, but they do sometimes lack on those rivets with their surface detail. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this surface detail, which as you can see here on the underside of the wing, I mean all we've got is like just a couple of recessed panel lines, not much in the rivet side of things. Now you can go absolutely mad, you can rivet count if you so wish. I mean, it's totally and utterly up to you how you want to go about it. Me personally, just a nice quick, not having to go off and do hours and hours of research of like rivet count and stuff. I like to just simply, wherever I've got a recessed panel line, as you can see along here, I just like to put a bunch of rivets along all the recessed panel lines. It just keeps it simple, quick and easy. So putting rivets down. Now there are a few ways we can go about doing this. First off is sort of like, shall we say, the not freehand version, where we come along, we get these nice little tools here. They're a nice little, it's like a little ruler. It's a nice metal that we can bend a fair bit, as you can see there, to go around it, all sorts of curvatures and stuff, and they've got all these different templates inside them, and they normally come in a set of say 3 of these templates, and they've got loads of different templates inside, as I say, and what you simply do is we lay it down, and what we want to do is, when it comes to doing the rivets here, we want to make sure we start in the right place and we end in the right place as well. So I'm just lining this up, and what you basically want is, where we've got our recessed panel line, we want to sort of come away from that recessed panel line maybe like half a mil-ish, right? And we want to make sure this distance between where we're going to put the rivets and where a recessed panel line is stays consistent throughout, so it doesn't look all funny, right? And what we simply do is we get that lined up, and then we take a tool. This tool here is a really well recommended tool by RB Productions. It does come as a nice set. You can go off and buy different sizes and different types and stuff, but if you kind of buy all of them, you really do sort of set yourself up for all the possibilities. And basically what we have here, what I actually have on my little tool at the moment, is one of these sort of smaller discs. Just focusing on there, and each disc has, the rivets are at different spaces. At the moment this is a 0.75 mil, so it will do a rivet every 0.75 mil, and it normally comes in 4 different sizes. I do believe it's something like 0.25. What else we got? There's a 0.9 No, there's a, sorry, it's 0.75, 1 mil, 1.25 mil, and 1.5 mil. So you've got a nice couple of distances there. But what you also have is you have the bigger discs for doing sort of longer distances, and you have these half discs as well, which I'll show you later how we're going to get them to work, because they're also very useful for some harder, trickier places to get to. So let's start off with doing this nice simple straight line, getting our distance between the recessed panel line and where we want our rivets to be, about the mil, half a mil, and we keep that consistent throughout. And then what we simply do is we want to make sure we get a rivet starting right into the corner of our panel, and then we simply just run our rivet maker all the way down.